Hey folks, welcome back. It's March 31st. It's Easter. Happy Easter, everyone. The enemy has no power but for suggestion. Know your own mind and you can clean the enemy's clock whenever you need to. Once you no longer habitually or unconsciously seek answers from being outside yourself, you're cutting off the enemy's access to your creative, generative abilities. You have removed the enemy's ability to influence you by suggestion. And at its core, this is all he has, the power of suggestion. This is how your mind is infiltrated by the enemy, through suggestion. For example, the words, "I'm going to get that mother effer for cutting me off," is a ridiculous suggestion supplied to you by some demonic outside source from whom you will no longer be seeking counsel, which means you will no longer be available as a vessel to create for the enemy a reality in the enemy's own image with your implied consent. If you don't know your own mind well enough to tell the difference between your own thinking and that of Satan himself, then to the enemy, you have consented to whatever ridiculous idea that just popped into your head. And by ridiculous, I'm talking about the thoughts that tell you you're not good enough, or that you should be ashamed of who you are, or that you ought to feel guilty for wanting something better. And on the ridiculousness goes. And technically, the laws of the universe were not broken. So therefore, no cosmic justice has befallen the fallen lord of this realm until now. We're finally starting to read the fine print and understand how language and the power of suggestion have been used to undermine our free will. And now that we know, the galactics are picking up on it too. And something seems to be being done about it. But during this powerful eclipse gateway, Satan's throwing a Hail Mary to try to get us to consent to our own undoing by fear-porning us into self-destruction. Meaning it's all being done to get you to consent to creating the shit world the enemy wants to see instead of what your own soul wants to see, because evil can't create. It can only make suggestions. Kind of like agency executives with no creative talent telling the creative talent how the creative ought to be. But seriously, evil has no talent. It can only boss the talent around. And when it comes to planet Earth, humanity is the talent. And the enemy, aka the devil, is the talentless agency executive. This is how your power is being used against you, and it's time to knock it off. To a lesser degree, as we go through this gateway, if you're still allowing yourself to sink into debate, struggle, revenge, vindication, panic, and fear, you're opting into a timeline that will always include struggle. For now, just for now, let struggle go. Even if you're still rolling with your training wheels, roll you and your training wheels through this time practicing no struggle. Even if it's only for a few minutes a day. When you forgive, you let go and let God. When you say and mean, God's got this, struggles beyond your control become God's issues, not yours, leaving you to focus on only what you can control. When you forgive, it's an act of faith. And when you're in faith, you're in the present moment. Resentment keeps you in the past or the future. Forgiveness releases you back to the now. When you're transparent, patient, and not attached to outcomes. When you're in service and congruous. When your body and your soul are healthy. When you live and let live. You're anchoring the Christ frequency, staying in the direction of New Earth, and pulling more and more of us to the highest timeline. When you're being Christ-like, your frequency harmonizes with those around you and the internal compasses of those who are with you in the direction of the new earth. So through each Christ-like mundane act, through each little test and little response, we're skipping across stepping stones back to our highest timeline. Remember, the fear around this upcoming event is a last-ditch effort or a Hail Mary by the dark to keep as many people trapped in duality as they can. This eclipse is the convergence of our collective healing crisis, the collective progress we've made in our individual healing journeys, and the inevitability of our planetary soul evolution converging to create the future of our individual and shared realities. So it's important to create the world you want, not the world they want. Don't fall for it. I'm telling you this so you can anchor the light around this event. This is how we quote unquote fight back against the dark. We neutralize conflict by holding the frequency of neutrality and personal impeccability. We anchor peace. We don't vindicate. We don't punish. We don't resent. We don't hate. We don't follow ridiculous ideas supplied to us by some unverified outside source. We focus on what makes us feel good, on what's best for us as individuals, and we ignore their screaming. We live in an almost walking state of meditation as we lead up to the eclipse. We anchor inner peace, and we're accountable to ourselves and therefore accountable to each other. This is what we want to tell every particle in the multiverse as we go through this gateway. We want to be very loudly and clearly indicating at the top of our lungs that all we are is love. And this is how we claim victory during this time. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next time.